Now, typically, not only do opposites attract in the sense of men and women are different, but opposites attract in other things too. One of you is late for everything, and the other one is on time. Have to be on time for everything. You have to be early for everything. One of you was up at 6 o'clock in the morning going, we have to get over there, we want to get a good seat. We have to get over there, I want to get a good parking place. Did you see the parking? Oh, we've got to get a good seat. And the other one's going, look, they're not going to really say anything important for the first hour anyway. You know? It's that way at our house. I have to be on time for everything. I'm like the nerd of the family, right? My wife, it doesn't matter. She'll get there sometime. It's okay. And, you know, when our kids were little, we lose our religion getting ready for church. And one Sunday, she used this line that Steve and Annie Chapman, friends of ours that do ministry to the family, use. Steve's got a great sense of humor, and she used it on me. She said, this Sunday, why don't we trade places? You get the kids ready, and I'll go out in the driveway and honk the horn. Opposites attract. One of you's in here burning up right now, and the other one's freezing to death. You ever have those thermostat wars at your house? It's not cold. Yes, it is. It's not cold. Yes, it is. And back and forth. I threatened to get one of those locking glass things over it, like you have at the office, you know? Just keep your hands off of it. The concept of a thermostat is it adjusts itself, you know? And now it's hot and I'm cold. And we're back and forth, opposites attract. One of you's a spender, one of you's a saver. And that's a good thing. You need each other. You spenders need a saver in your life, so you don't retire enough to buy that cookbook, 72 Ways to Prepare Alpo, and love it. You savers need a spender in your life, so you have a life. And typically what happens is the nerd, the one that is very organized, you know, the detail person, the underwear drawer is folded, must be on time, everything has a place, really enjoys for the bills to be paid on time. Late, oh, don't give me a late charge. Oh. How many of you are like me? I'm a nerd at my house. Or if you're the nerd at your house, raise your hand. Come on, be proud, nerds. Come on. You know, nerds are very precise. They're having to think about this for a moment. Maybe I am a nerd and I wouldn't want to have a problem with my integrity. I'll have to think this through. Nerds are very, very precise people, right? We have to have things the way they're supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. I want my shirt tail to be tucked in just right. I looked in the mirror before I came out here. It's not perfect and it's bothering me. You know, that's the way it is with nerds, right? That's how you do things. So the nerd likes doing the budget. It gives them this sense of power, this sense of control. Some nerds are real big-time control freaks, but all nerds are at least a little bit of control freaks. You know what I'm saying? And we're actually going to introduce some folks to you. We're going to introduce the nerd. We've arranged to have a nerd visit with us tonight, and a free spirit too, for that matter. But first, let me introduce you to our nerd for the evening. Dan is our nerd for the evening. Come out, Dan. That's funny, haha. My team thinks that we need to dress the nerd like me. That's cute, guys. That's very cute, guys. I really like that. Now, thank you very much. All right, and the free spirit is the one that they don't feel cared for. We nerds think we're caring for everyone. The free spirit instead feels controlled. They feel told what to do. The free spirit is like, how many of you in here are free spirits? Raise your hand. See, they always start a wave. They didn't hesitate. Yeah, baby, we're free spirit. Yeah, when's the break? Give me some refreshments. I'm a free spirit. You know, I'm sure glad this thing's funny. I was afraid it's going to be boring. You know, this is the free spirit, right? And the free spirit, they're mature. They're adults too. They just believe in having a thing called a life. They don't really get a high out of 3-generation spreadsheets. They don't understand. You know. They don't want to click the third tab over, and they don't want to spend hours and hours and hours looking at the details. They want to vote. They want to be part of the program. And Susan is going to be our free spirit for the evening. Come out, Susan. Y'all give Susan a big round of applause. So what happens is the nerd and the free spirit get married, but they don't really become one, do they? No. Instead, we start this fight thing. Because the first thing that will happen is the nerd goes, oh no, I've married one of those. And the free spirit's just going, you are a freak, you know? Get away from me, you Fruit Loop. You know, and this fight, this constant tension. Some marriages go through this. This is real world, isn't it? Say yes. Some marriages go through this for decades and don't even realize there's all this tension in the air. They kind of just tolerate it, or they go to their corners and go, okay, you pay your bills and I'll pay my bills. We're not really married. We're just going to have a joint venture. And the nerd's like, you're too irresponsible. And the free spirit's like, you're too controlling. And we're just, all this clash of the titans going on. And it doesn't make for a high-quality marriage. As a matter of fact, we just said this, it's the number one cause of divorce. As opposites attract, and men and women are different anyway. When you put all of that in a soup with money, it makes a mess. But we figured out a way to solve it. It's called the Budget Committee meeting. It's your only hope for learning how to communicate. So here's what we're going to do. Those of you that are like me, and Dan, we're the nerds. Raise your hand, nerds. Okay. See, the nerds are like very precise. Right? So nerds, raise your hand again one more time. Good. All right, nerds. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do a budget. In the super saving lesson, when we said go home and do the quickie budget, you almost had it done before you got out of the parking lot. And you've already read 3 or 4 chapters ahead, and you know what I'm going to be saying next because you'd rather skip over the jokes and get to the point. Okay? And you're already filling out the evaluation in the back, you know? And you were told not to already, you know, but you can't help yourself. That kind of a thing, right? That's the nerd. So go ahead and prepare the budget, because if we wait on the free spirits, it's not going to happen. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? So prepare the budget, and we're going to teach you in the budgeting lesson how to do that, but the basics of budgeting is you spend every dollar on paper before the month begins. Every dollar has a name before the month begins. You prepare the budget. Now, then we call the budget committee meeting. Let's cover the rules for the budget committee meeting for the nerds first. Nerd, I want you to take the budget that you prepared, and I want you to set it on the table, slide it over to the free spirit, and shut up. That is rule number 1. Shut up. The free spirits here, they are sick and tired of your preaching. They are sick of hearing, yeah, you got it. They're sick and tired of hearing Dave Ramsey say it. They're sick and tired of every mistake they ever made since 1962. You know, they don't want to hear any more of your theories. Shut up. It's on the paper. Slide it over. You've got a whole lot of opinions. They're right there on the paper. Let the free spirit look at it. Rule number 2, nerds, is this is a meeting. It is not a weekend-long budget summit. When you are dealing with a free spirit, you have a 17-minute window. After that, their body may stay, but their spirit will leave. They're not going to hang out with you. Their eyes start to cross. They're not getting this. It's not fun for them. They don't enjoy this process. They're only there to have a vote. They're going to have their vote, and they're going to leave the voting booth. That's it. That's the whole deal from them. Now listen very, very carefully to me. If you are a nerd, there is one last rule, nerds. Listen very, very carefully. You must insist that the free spirit change some things in your budget. And the nerds are going, no! We don't want to change anything. It's right. If we change it, it will be wrong. I did it. It's right. We can't change it. Listen, nerds, we're tricking them to get them involved. All right, free spirits, raise your hand. All right, did I take up for you? Say yes. All right, so listen up, free spirits. You have a couple of rules for the budget committee meeting too. Rule number 1, free spirits. You must come to the meeting. Rule number 2, you must bring your brain. You have to give adult, mature input in the meeting. I want one isn't covered under that heading. You look at the budget and you go, honey, I think $1,800 might be a little high for green fees when we have $14 for food. And you make an adjustment there, like switching those 2 numbers. But you can't just go, I want more money for clothes. Okay, we're going to raise clothing by $200. That's fine, honey. Where's the $200 going to come from? I don't care. Who are you, the government? It has to come from somewhere, right? If we're going to raise a category by 200, we have to lower some others by the same amount. That's how this works. It balances. It's a neat concept. Okay? So adult-like input says you change some things around by raising a few and lowering some others by that same amount so that we still end up with a 0. And rule number 3, free spirits, if you will work with your nerds on this, you will have the best quality relationship of any marriage you know. You will run into people everywhere who are in awe of the communication level in your marriage. It will totally transform how you communicate. It will bring a level of unity, a level of oneness to everything that you're doing, and then you'll start to win financially. It's worth it. But free spirits, there's a phrase that you have been saying. This is your last rule. You can never again say this phrase. And you use it all the time. We know you do, especially we nerds know it. Sometimes you say things like, whatever you want to do, honey. Wrong cop-out breath. You have to get in the game and place your vote. You both have a vote. We come into agreement. That's called unity. Both place their vote. No, just, you're smarter than me. You take care of it. I'm going to go over and mess up your plan, though. And that's what free spirits do too often. No, you've got to place your vote, and then when the budget is done, we pinky swear and we spit shake, and this is a lock, baby. We don't do anything except what's on the budget. That is a promise. That's a contract. And if we're going to do something different than what's on that budget, we have to come back and have an emergency budget committee meeting. Got it, free spirits? Say yes. Yes. All right, give Dan and Susan, our free spirits and our nerds, a hand. They're now working together.
I'm a free spirit. For me, being late is actually on time. Of course, this drives the number crunching nerds, like my dad, crazy. If you're not sure if you're a free spirit or a nerd, maybe this will help. You know you're a free spirit when you wait until the night before to study for your final exam and your grade depends on it. When the teacher hands back your test, you ask your best friend for the 100th time what the letter grade is for an 89. Or you show up 10 minutes late to meet your friends at school so you can drive together to the away game. Not only are you late, but you have no idea that they're irritated with you. Does that sound like you? Okay, nerds, you're next. You're definitely a nerd when you already know your grade for government class when your teacher hands back your final exam. The teacher doesn't even know your grade yet. Or a group of you are splitting a pizza and you figure out what to charge each person based on the number of slices they eat. Or you panic because your alarm didn't go off and you'll be getting to school only 5 minutes before class starts. Ever hear opposites attract? Don't be surprised if your future mate is different than you. Understanding these things can really help you when you do things together, like doing your budgets.
When it comes to singles and money, time poverty and fatigue can lead to poor money management. Beware when you're single of impulse buying due to stress or the I owe it to myself syndrome, sometimes known as a pity party. I deserve a break today. I'm pitiful and going to spend money I don't have. And I just feel bad and I'm just going to go spend some money. I'll feel better if I spend some money. And all these kinds of things. Be very, 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 very careful of that. 55% of the single moms in the U.S. are qualified as poor in America today. 55% of them, according to the Department of Commerce. And you know, we work with a lot of single moms across the country, and I'll never forget sitting in a small group session with a single mom. And she said, Dave, I was doing this stuff so good. I had my budget down. It was Thursday night. Everything was balanced. I'm working 2 jobs to get this done. I'm so tired, but we were getting there. I was starting to feel like I had discipline and had control. For the first time in my life, I really had a sense of hope. And she said, I got up on Friday morning. We got the kids all dressed to take them to the daycare, load them in the car. We're going down the road. Cloud burst. Big time thunderstorm. About that time, I hear boom, 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 boom. My tire's flat. So she gets out on the side of the road, the kids are in the car, people are driving by, splash, 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 while she changes the tire. So she's late getting them to the daycare, then she's late and wet getting into work. She comes into work, her boss chews her out because she's late for work. And so she has to work over because she's late to make up the time and be able to keep the job. And of course, if you're late for the daycare, they charge you 62 minutes or $62 a minute if you come in late for the daycare. So she comes in late for the daycare. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Picks up the kids. She has had the worst day of her life, right? She gets in the car, she's driving home, she's just completely worn out. She said, Dave, I have nothing left in my emotional gas tank. And she said, the kids are in the back going, McDonald's, McDonald's, McDonald's. And she said, before I knew it, I went through and I pulled $20 out of the anytime teller that wasn't in there because my budget was balanced. I had already spent the money and paid the bills. And we went over to McDonald's and got a couple of Happy Meals and we went home because I just didn't have the energy to cook. I bounced 5 checks. The Happy Meals cost me $157. So you don't deserve that kind of a break today. You got to kind of take a deep breath when the kids are doing that and go, shut up, peanut butter breath. We're going home. And go slap some peanut butter on the bread and do it another day. And I got to tell you, I know it's tough. I know those budgets are tough. We've looked at them for years. It's hard. But I can tell you, you don't deserve that kind of break today. You have to be very careful. It's moments like that that make or break you when you have to be strong. And folks that are single and have never been married or don't have kids, you got to be careful. A lot of singles I talk about, particularly young singles, talk about what they call loneliness spending. They would rather eat at a restaurant, and even if I'm not eating with anybody, at least there's people around than sit in an apartment by myself again. I just can't do it. I just want to be around humans. And they go out and they go, or the gang is going out. Even if they don't really go out with the gang, they go out with the gang just to be hanging out with some people, just to have the touch and the interaction. And every time they do that, they spend money. Be careful with that. A written plan gives the single person empowerment, self-accountability, and control. If you're in here and you're single or you're helping somebody that's single, circle that one right there. Put stars all the way around it. That is worth you attending tonight if you're single. It's that simple. The written plan gives the single person empowerment, self-accountability, and control. How do you prevent mistakes and how do you put in place the right kind of decisions when you're single? Well, you develop an accountability relationship. Someone to discuss your purchases with. Someone to discuss your budget with. Now, who do you use for an accountability partner? You don't use your shopping buddies. I'll get 3. That's not what we're talking about. An accountability partner is someone who's willing to hurt your feelings for your own good. No, stupid, you don't need a new car. It's a flat tire. Buy a hubcap. Shut up. Now, your accountability partner could be your dad, your mom, it could be somebody that you work with, it could be an uncle, it could be your grandmother, it could be your pastor, it could be a friend, but whoever it is needs to be somebody that has old-fashioned values when it comes to money, and they're going to look at you in love and say, you're being stupid. Don't do that. Hey, even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. Okay? We got to have somebody to knock this stuff off of, to be able to get it in our face when it's time and do that. Now, those of us that are married, we know when we get home, we've got immediate accountability. You bought what? That just goes with the territory. And I'm not saying when you're single that somehow you're incomplete. That's not my point. My point is, though, that 2 heads are better than one. And if you'll reach outside, find that special someone in your life that will get in your face on financial issues or any other issues, spiritual issues, it will cause you to grow and cause you to be able to win. Accountability is an absolute necessity.
I learned to handle my money from my parents.
I learned to handle money when I was just turning teenage from my parents.
I learned to handle my money by my mom and my dad when I was younger.
I learned to handle money from my father.
When it comes to kids and money, teaching your kids how to handle money is not the school's responsibility. They should be doing it. By and large, they're not doing it. And you got to remember, ultimately, it is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to make sure your kids are taught. I taught my children about money since they were babies, literally. I mean, as they became 3, 4, 5 years old, we had little age-appropriate discussions about money all the way up through teenagers and now as young adults. We've taught them every step of the way, age-appropriately about money, meaning that as they got older, we got a little bit more sophisticated with the discussion. Basically, we've taught them to work hard. We've taught them to save. We've taught them to spend wisely, and we've taught them to always be givers. And those 4 things have been taught all the way up in an age appropriate. In other words, we didn't want to confuse some little 4-year-old with a mutual fund, but we certainly would take a 13 or a 15-year-old and have a discussion about how a Roth IRA works. Around our house, we paid commissions, not allowances. We never had allowances at the Ramsey household. I don't believe in allowance. Allowance to me sounds like welfare. It sounds like I'm going to make allowance for you because you're somehow deficit. You're not able to do anything of value, so I'm going to make allowance for you. Commission says that if you work, you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. That's what commission says, and that works every time. You know, I remember one time we were driving along, our kids were a lot smaller then, and one of mine was about 13 years old and was going on, Dad, why are you so tough on us? You're so, you know, our friends don't have to work the way you work us. You make us work, you make us do all these things, you make us save money. I mean, we have all these rules that other kids don't have. Dad, why are you so tough on us about this money stuff? Is it just because you're afraid you're going to be embarrassed? And I went, well, yeah, that's part of it. But I said, more than anything, the reason I'm so tough on you is this. We've done a great job with money. So we've got a lot of it. And so when we die, you're going to be very wealthy. And if you don't have the personal character, the muscle and the bones of character to carry the weight of that wealth, it will ruin your life. It will take away your desire to win. It will take away why God put you on the planet. And you'll become one of those trust fund babies. Stinky things. I don't want any of those. I want children that are arrows that we turn loose, that are straight, and they're clean, and they fly true, and they hit the mark. That's what we're trying to grow. And that happens with lots and lots of forming and reforming and reforming. That's the character to carry that wealth. You see, words are powerful. Be careful what words you're using with your kids. What are you speaking into their lives? What are you speaking at them? You got to be very careful about that. See, if you work, you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. Around our house, we use the stuff that we now have in a thing called Financial Peace Junior. We used to put on the refrigerator door, we would put a commission worksheet that looked a lot like this, little magnets on the back, and we'd stick it to the door. And we write on here the chores that you had to do. And we put a dollar amount beside each of the chores. It wasn't a big complicated thing. When they were pretty small, you know, they're 6, 7, 8 years old, it was 5 chores, and it was $1 a piece for each chore. So you do all the chores, you get $5. You don't do all the chores, you get $4, $3, whatever. And so we check off if you did them, and you got paid if you did them, and if you didn't do the chore, you didn't get the money. It's that simple. Did you know that everyone in here is on straight commission? Try not going to work for 6 weeks and see if you get paid. You're on straight commission. Everyone here is work, get paid, don't work, don't get paid. It's good to teach little guys that. I mean, it's really good. You don't have to be so hard on them. You want to do it age appropriate. We don't want to create Hitler's boot camp for money. That's not the point, okay? But we do want these kids to learn this stuff at 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years old, because I meet 58-year-olds who still haven't made an emotional connection between money and work. It's how money is created. It's created with work. And so we use the basic commission thing. Well, Dave, we think that around our house you ought to just do chores just because you're part of the family. I said 5. The rest of ours you do just because I'm larger than you and I can hurt you. Because you're part of the family. When I get up from the dinner table and take my plate to the sink and scrape it off and put it in the dishwasher, I didn't do that because I get paid. I did that because I love my wife, and it's one way I can serve her that evening after she's been in a hot kitchen all day. Okay? That's that deal. And the same thing for my kids. They love their mom. They love their dad. They need to do stuff as being part of the family. That's part of the deal. But if you only do that, you don't ever teach them that work creates money. Because I got to tell you, when they earn money and they have money that's in their hand that they earn, they treat it different. And they make different decisions at that point. And you get to teach them other teachable lessons. So do some things that are just because you're part of the family. But do some things where we make that connection and create teachable moments in the process as well. You know, teach by example as well. Here's an idea. You got to understand that they're going to do what you do. If you're stressed out and the way you medicate stress is, you go buy a new dress, they're going to go buy a new dress when they're stressed out. They're watching you. They smell this stuff. You know, the old thing, I would rather see a sermon any day than hear one. And kids, that's how they live their whole lives. When our children were little, our oldest, who's now probably be embarrassed that I show this, but when she was a little bitty kid in preschool, the little teacher this was a brave little teacher, took each of these little kids and put their little feet in paint and put the little footprint on a little cardboard thing, and it looks like this. This is my oldest, Denise. And then they wrote across the top, "I'm following in your footsteps." Now, if you put that on your office desk for a couple of years, it'll change how you act and react about just about everything, won't it? Because they're watching. They're going to do what you do. So you could teach and you can have all these speeches and all these other things. You can take them to all the Dave Ramsey stuff and all that stuff. But ultimately, you're running around borrowing money every time you turn around. Your kids are going to run around borrow money every time they turn around. That's what's going to happen. You are their family of origin. And you're going to bless them or curse them with that process. Now, as you're teaching them, be age appropriate in the process. Show them how debt works. Show them how to be debt free. But a 4-year-old doesn't grasp that. But as you're talking to teenagers, they get a little bit older, talk to them about how insurance works. Talk to them about what a Roth IRA is or what a 401k is. Talk to them about taxes and voting and these kinds of things. Because you want to raise them that vote like you do, right? I mean, that's how that works. So if the children are very young, when you start out, just use a clear plastic container like this. And as you pay them, wad the money up so it takes up more room and stuff it down in there. See, that's not a lot of money in there. That's a bunch of ones just wadded up and stuffed in there. But if you had that in a neat little pile, you nerds, it really wouldn't look like a lot of money. This is a free spirit savings account right here, okay? But here's what happens. See, when you're 4 years old and you clean up the room, did you really clean up the room? No, not really. Around our house, when you're 4 years old and you clean up the room, you picked up 3 or 4 toys, Mom and Dad did the rest, and you got all the attaboys and attagirls. You are a superstar room cleaner. You are awesome. Give me a high five on the clean room. Way to go. Hopefully they'll kind of get that in their spirit, and then when they're a teenager, it won't look like a nuclear dump, Right? So, you do that. You train them, right? And then, let me tell you, pay them right then. That was hard work cleaning up that room, and I'm really proud of you. That was good. $1. Doesn't have to be a lot of money. And you crumple it up, and you put it in here. And then every so often, you don't have to have a big system. That's the whole system when they're tiny. Okay? Every so often, you get them all out, all these dollars out, and you smooth them out, and you go down to Toys R Them. I remember one time we went down to Toys R Them, and we were there to buy Celebration Barbie. And we didn't have the money. So we got, sort of kind of had a party Barbie. I got to tell you, that was a character growing experience right there to not buy what we went after because we didn't have the money. Because I'm looking at those little eyes looking up at me. Celebration Barbie, man. It was a character growing experience for me. I remember it. The kid doesn't even remember it. Because I had to go. Because it's just another few dollars. Aren't they sweet? Isn't this cute? That's how this works. Now, do I do that every time? No, sometimes I just step up and totally buy a Celebration Barbie. But other times we're like, okay, this is how this deal works. Money is finite. There's only so much of it. You need to get that in your spirit as you go along. You don't get everything you want. Well, I deserve it. You don't deserve it unless you have the money. That's when you deserve it. That's how you want to transfer this. Just having big, cute eyes doesn't give you the right to deserve everything. We got people all over our culture trying that, and it just doesn't work, right?